I'm Carolyn Holzman, and this is Confessions of an SEO. These episodes are short and definitely reflect my personal view. Welcome to episode 42 of Confessions of an SEO. If you're a new listener, welcome. We're kind of in the middle of something, and I'm doing a little time travel. So this episode may be unusually shorter than normal. Now, in this episode, I'm traveling to the future to tell you about the past. And when I say past, I mean what's happening on my test to see if the helpful content system actually reads text. If you're in SEO and you aren't familiar with the helpful content system and the havoc its implementation has wreaked over many sites, maybe you were in your time machine and got stuck somewhere. So if you're tired of helpful content and not hearing someone tell you you have to do this one thing and we'll take you to page 3, you're probably going to hate this week's episode. But if you're a curious monkey and this is your first trip to the confession booth, I think you're going to like it. And I'd recommend, if you haven't, go ahead and catch up in episodes 38, 39, 40, and 41. So, and remember, I don't take up a full hour of your day with every episode. So we're all working, right? My episodes are more like 15 minutes, maybe 20 if I get going. Now, if you weren't here last week, I am actively testing to determine if Google's helpful content system reads the words between our optimizations. Now, I've got my own data that was graceful enough to lead me to what I know with my head and my eyes is the highest truth and understanding at the moment about the helpful content system and what it measures. Now, you can find that if you're interested. I have I wrote up an analysis. It's got charts and graphs, and from what I'm told, it does contain enough explanation so that readers can understand what you're seeing in there, and that you've got a chance, if you've got the inclination, to get serious about what the helpful content system is looking for. I will put that link in the description. Now, I'm a bit of a contrarian about this. I don't think there is such a thing as helpful content. I think the system looks for unhelpful content, and there are lots of ways that Google can interpret content to be unhelpful. I know time will bear this out, but when I hear people talk about the helpful content system and they got hit by it and people tell them what they think it is, it's really getting harder and harder for me to sit by and watch sites get smashed against the hard rocks of the HCS and no one really have an answer for them. I think if it's you, you're probably frustrated when you see your data in Search Console flatline. The content where you purchased every single item that you reviewed. If it's a travelogue, you actually made it to every place on earth that you wrote about. If you've been in SEO for years and have an agency and yet you can't figure out how to get your client site back up, if that's your reality, how does it feel when you hear folks basically say, oh, your problem is stop writing content for search engines, write for people? Now, I'm not saying that isn't good advice, but it's not good advice in this particular case. Imagine your house is on fire. You're banging on the door of your neighbor and they greet you with something like, wow, only you can prevent forest fires. No, that is not appropriate advice in that particular situation. We should all be dialing 911 for the fire department. That is not the time to sound like Smokey the Bear. So what other things do we hear? Oh, you should write content that is more helpful. You should write content that is honest, transparent, and accurate. Write content that is not curated from other sources. My site should have more helpful content, so just do that. And my personal favorite, I don't focus on optimization. I focus on helpful content. Okay. I don't think you need more than that kind of advice, right? I've spent the last 6 months sharing what I've seen. And if you see something, say something, and some are getting it and have gotten it. Those that are around me during that time, that I do not subscribe to that school of helpful content analysis that I just reiterated. I don't believe the solution is to write content that is more helpful. So I thought it might be fun, instead of working harder to convince people that helpful content is a domain topical factor, I thought I might fashion, or rather refashion, a test where there are literally only two kinds of words. Topical words that relate to the same topic, and lorem ipsum. I mean, that lorem ipsum are words that cannot possibly be mistaken to contain any semantic meaning or helpful nature to a reader. So it's going to be one or the other, Google. Now, before I get into the Where Is It Now segment, that's going to be the recurring segment on each show for the time being, I thought it might be fun for us to take this journey together. And so we kind of need to agree on these two principles. One, Google's sorting principles are the same for every niche. And number two, the intended keyword target does not alter those principles. There may be different conditions, but the underlying principles do not change. So whether it's personal injury attorney Orlando or Grand Island, Nebraska funeral home, the rules are the same. Now for Where Is This Test Now? Wow, this is turning into confessions for sure. Last week, I realized that while I had put on a construction page on the homepage, I neglected to check off the box in WordPress that says discourage search engines from crawling this site. Now, I am one to always find the silver lining in a dark cloud. So what I noticed was actually something pretty cool. Google had already crawled all the pages before the site was officially published. I read the server logs. Now, note, I am not saying that it was a Google crawler that comes to render and index content. Ha ha! So now I'm wondering if this other crawler comes to all new websites. If I had checked off that box, I wouldn't have been able to see this very interesting situation. Now, the site is not hooked into any search console. This site is, as I said, already ranking. Right now, it's only the homepage, but nationally, the page is, wait for it, ranking in the number 10 spot. And if I search locally, as if I were in that town, it's ranking the top of page 2. So here's what we know so far. 1, Google crawled, indexed, and served the homepage. It's a page with less than 300 words. The paragraphs on that page are 100% lorem ipsum. There's a link to the inner page that normally ranks for the term, but that's it. So, what are we to make of this at this particular juncture? Well, if you're in the school of opinion that helpful content reads and can identify content based on its helpfulness, do you want some mustard with your pretzel? I won't poke at you too hard, but I hope this generates some thoughts about this. How is it possible for a page to rank in SERPs that are literally patrolled by the helpful content system? How did this content make its way through the indexation system during helpful content error? Because none of this is helpful content. And yet, its rank, it's not just in the top 100, it's in the top 10. How can this be? All right. So before I get too gloaty on this, I did find something else that I had neglected, forgotten to account for. And frankly, this may be what is keeping it at the bottom of page 1 and top of page 2. I did not fix the htaccess file. Yikes. And because I'm running daily Quora volatility reports, it was in those that I discovered that there are 2 versions. The one with the result of the subdomain, the www, and a second one without it. Eesh. Okay, this is where I have to do like my little, my Hail Googles, right? I have duplicate content and I shouldn't. I have duplicate content and I shouldn't. But what's great about the volatility report is that the one with the subdomain showed up 95% of the time. It was the one without it that showed up 5%. So I probably would never have found that in a rank tracker. So if you, I'll make sure you have access to a very, very special price for Quora if you are looking to get some volatility reporting in your analysis. Okay. So basically, from the moment that was discovered, it was fixed like within less than 2 minutes. And so that was fixed back at the end of last week. So that will get sorted out. Whew. Okay, I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. And so here again, watch this space if you like this kind of testing and thinking and questions. Now, if you want to get in to be a tester of the indexation platform, IndexZilla, join Crawl or No Crawl on Substack, and you'll see in the reports that get sent out the link to the Google form that you can let me know you're interested. Best of all, you get an indexer and all of it on my dime during the test phase. Feedback as well as my own testing of the system continues to confirm that when Google's index is open, IndexZilla is getting content indexed. Yoo-hoo! Okay. And I have made progress and may have come up with a concept for the logo with the help of my trusty graphic designer, Steve. We've worked together since the early CD manufacturing days, so this is really fun for me. All right. So that's it for me this week. If you need help with your site and you're not sure where to dig, text me. My specialty is forensic SEO, and I find weaknesses in sites and help you fix them to create more success through a stronger site. To stay on the cutting edge of the state of indexing, as well as first access to the new indexer on the market that is not using the non-working indexing API, check out Crawl or No Crawl on Substack. I'll make sure all the links are in there for you. Thank you for being a listener. Thank you for being a supporter. If you have questions or topic ideas, I'd really like to hear from you. And you can text confessions at 512-222-3132. Thanks again. And until next week, I'll see you in the SERPs.